All right, you guys, welcome back to another session here at Cujo Sound. I'm Bjørn Jacobsen, and this is a new video about MSP. MSP is a very important tool to know. The reason why it's important to know, I know a lot of people who think of it just as a sound tool that you can do all these weird scriptings with, and sure, it is that, but it's also a great learning experience for how to deal with signal paths and understanding basic coding. It'll help you immensely when you need to communicate with coders and programmers later on, but also it'll help you create tools that no other tool will do for you. No reason to invent the wheel in MSP. You have your DAWs, you have your editors and everything like that for that already. No point in creating all that. Now, but MSP can be used to create all the tools that you don't have, or the automation that you don't have. And in this series, we're going to be digging into how MSP can help you create really awesome tools, but also just if you want to route specific controls for specific MIDI controllers or whatever keys you want to be pressing into other parameters that you want to control on, like VSTs or just specific volume controls of sounds. So let's get to it. I'm going to be using Max 5. The reason why I'm going to be using Max 5 is because it's the MSP version that I have. I don't see any point in updating it for the time being. It's the one that I've always been using, so it's fairly easy for me to use. So this here is a bare bone MSP environment. We have this other window over here, which is our debug window, or at least where it can give you a bunch of information. Now, if we go to options here, under DSP setup or DSP status, you can see here that audio is off and which driver it's going to be using and whatever. So you can do like this. Now, in MSP, you need to understand how signal paths work. So basically, you can have any type of input with any sound, anything like that, and you can have it manipulate other things. Now, there are two types of objects. If we double click here, you get this nice little box of UI stuff up. I don't use this. I usually just click new and then type in the name of whatever I want. Like, let's say we want a button. It instantly turns into the button icon, which looks like this. Normally, else, let's say we have a SF play like that. This is another icon. This can be used for sample playback, and it's a different type of icon simply because it's just this box, and it can do things because it has inlets and outlets, and this button here is more of a graphical reason that you would have that. So if you look at this SF play here, it doesn't matter what it does for now, but if you hover these black ones here at the very top, you can see that this here is an inlet, and it takes certain values to come in, and this is an outlet, the one from below, and this is where stuff comes out. Now let's see if we can find make a number box. That's not good. Let's make a MIDI flush. Yeah, that's a good example. Notice how these two are different. This one has a name called MIDI flush, and obviously the name is different, but this one has this tilde icon, or tilde character at the end. When it has this tilde at the end of the name, it means it's treating audio. This one does not have a tilde. That means that it's treating raw messages like MIDI signals or values, whatever, just plain numbers, plain and simple. You will also notice that the output, if it's an audio output, it becomes this dotted line, and if it's raw data signal, it becomes this straight, very like line here. So if we look at this is a button, and you can, at any given time, also just press B, and a button will appear. Let's try to remove all these. If you hold Control, it's the same as actually using whatever patch you have. So you can click the button. Now you can see it's flashing yellow. That's because I'm holding Control. If I click without holding Control, it'll be like nothing's happening, because then I can move it. If If I hold control and try to move it, I'm basically just clicking it. So you can also resize it, of course. This, make it a really big button. You can click. So if you hold control and click anywhere on the white area of the patch, you will notice that the lock icon down here will lock. Now, if now it's locked, we clicked once. That means that now we can just regularly click this button. And if we unlock it again, you can see the inlet and the outlet becomes visible again, which means that now we are in edit mode. We are in edit mode. And with that, we're going to resize this back to normal here. So what's this for? I have this here, Korg Nano Control 2. It's very dirty and very used because it's been gigging with me for like 10 years or so. But it works, and we can plug it into our USB, and we can have all these inputs, all these buttons, all these knobs be used to whatever we want, and that's what we're going to be digging into. So in our Max MSP environment here, I would like to be able to control any kind of just some sort of number by turning the knobs on this one here. So let's get to that. Okay, so as you can see here, we can turn the knob here and nothing will happen inside of our environment. But if we insert an object, if you press N, you can always type whatever name you have here. And actually this is pretty smart because you can just, let's say, type S and you will get a list of everything that starts with an S. And you can go into all these objects that does different things. Now, don't be afraid or scared that, oh, there's so many of these. Yeah, there is a lot. But this is the same thing when it comes to programming. You just need to get used to it, and you just need to work around it so that you get used to which ones are there, what do they do, so that you establish your workflow and you know what to do. Once you become more advanced, you can always just almost like hit a random number and pick one. I'll say Hilbert here. I don't even know what Hilbert does, but if you hold Alt and double click any object, you will get this really, really nice reference to it. This is the Open Hilbert reference, and you can see here what it does. It's a phase quadrature filter, I didn't know. 6-order Hilbert transformer with a minimum of error. So you can pick and choose inputs here and there. So this is actually a patch on its own. So if you unlock it like this, you can actually edit this patch if you want to. Which means that you can also, if you find something in a reference patch like this that really works for you, you can always just select it like this and copy paste it into your ordinary patch that you're using here. So let's exit all this and get to it. Because we want to have a controller input, we want to have this knob here control something for us. So I happen to know that CTL in, this is a controller input 1. And it gives me controller value and the controller number and the MIDI channel. So if we, let's say, put in an integer number box, you can press I, or you can always click N and type number. Then you have an integer number box. So if we have this the controller number come out here, we can always have a new integer number box here and say the controller value. So if I turn this button now, you can see that the value of the knob is 127 or whatever value we have, and it is the controller number 12. If we delete these, and instead of, actually we shouldn't delete those, but if we make a new one, controller in, and instead of just calling it controller in, because it does, this one does take inputs, we can just type controller in 12. See, the MIDI controller number outlet disappears because now it knows that this should only handle controller channel number, controller number 12. So if we put in an integer box here, this will work like this. This number can then be connected to any value that you want to use. You can connect it to volume control, whatever you want to do. And we'll get to that later. But now we have this box here that can do controller 12. Now, if I turn this other knob, you can see the number over here changes to 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 17, 18, 19. That's it. So let's get rid of all these. And if we say this one here, copy, and this is now 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, and the last one, 19. Good. So now that we have them all here, we know now that regardless of whatever knob I'm going to turn, we can use these to control these. And that's good, because this is basically how basic inputs work from this. You can also just, if we make a regular control input again, and to integer number boxes, it works the same way with these faders here. This is fader number 20, 21, which means that you can use this for that. Anyway, the last tip for this first video that we're going to do, this is just basic inputting of media information into MSP, is that this patch, if we save it, and we call it, let's call it here the nano control. So now we have this nano control saved here. That basically means that we can open up a new, so this patch that you just saved is now a patch that you can use within other patches. So if you say nano control, it will actually, this is actually the patch that you just made, but there's nothing to it, but I'll show you how. New outlet like this. Let's drag this number here. Whoop, that, but this and like this. Now you may wonder, what does an outlet do? But once we start loading the patch again, you'll see that it works really well, and it's really easy to use. Because let's say that we save this now as nano control, and let's make a new patch. We have this new patch now, and if we click here, N for new, and just type nano control, we now have a patch. You cannot do anything about it. You cannot open it. You cannot look at anything. This is just a subpatcher. This is by holding Alt and double clicking it. This is a so-called subpatcher within a patch. But this is the patch that we made before. So now it has all these outputs. So if I just now put in an integer number box and drag and drop outlet number 1, and outlet number 1 that we made was the first one. It's the furthest one to the left. It's this one here. So now we can always use this object in whatever patch we have as a standard, so that this will now be my nano control knobs. We could call it that. And then we could instantly have control over all these knobs, which means that I don't have to invent the logic again for how to deal with this. Anyway, that's it for the video. That's a very basic thing. Hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, subscribe on Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, everything. See you in the next video. Hi.